Feel the flow of your breath moving in and moving out. As if your lungs extended all the way down into the low part of your torso. Begin to breathe into the low part of this imaginary lung. As if your lungs extended all the way down toward your seat. Continue to breathe down. In this very low part of your giant lung. And notice there's a balance where if you effort too hard with your breath, try to force it down, it's kind of agitating. So for 5 more breaths, find this place of a powerful low breath. Without forcing. Taking 2 more breaths. Nice and easy. Begin to lower both knees to one side or the other to the floor. So you can pause. Rest it on your side. And begin to gently make your way up to a comfortable seat. Optional for Anjali Mudra. We'll begin today with potential Om, or you can simply listen. Feeling your breath flow in and out. Your next inhale, a little deeper, a little bigger. Exhale the air out. Inhale. However you transition with the bow of your head to your heart. Or another gesture. Begin to transition your arms to a cactus position. Starting to draw your shoulder blades into your back. Breathe in. And on your exhale, allow your arms to drop. Staying tall through your spine, your midline tall. Bring your arms back to cactus. With spread fingers and your shoulder blades drawn in your back, keep your midline long. And with your next inhale, keep inhaling as you also keep your midline long. Keep inhaling, keep your midline long, but relax everything else on your exhale. Letting it drop, staying tall through your midline. One more time. On your next inhale, bring both arms up into cactus. Shoulder blades drawn to your back as you keep your midline tall through your midline like a long silk thread. Keep inhaling as you keep the silk thread long. Keep inhaling as you keep the silk thread long, and relax everything but the silk thread long. Let it drop. The silk thread long as the rest of you lets go. And then begin to gently bring your feet, soles of your feet together, knees wide into bound angle. Now you may wish to place a prop on either side of your legs if it gets a little bit intense with the knees just hanging out there. You can also use a prop behind you if you wish, or just work with fingertips as you take your hands behind you. We're going to come into a back bend here in our bound angle pose. As a seated pose, anchor your seat forward on your sit bones as you lift your sternum bone up as you make it a back bend. Breathe into your chest. Keep inhaling into your chest. And on your next exhale, round like a cat. So we're kind of doing a cow-cat thing here. Round forward on your cat, exhaling out. You can take your hands forward if you like. And then we're going to do that again. Walk your hands back. Walking them back, roll back your shoulders. Keep inhaling as you lift your sternum bone up. Keep inhaling. And on your exhale, round like the cat. Feel welcome to take your hands forward if that makes it a little smoother as you round. We're going to do this 3 to 4 more times at your own pace, starting by walking your hands back, beginning to energize your breath. Keep inhaling, and then commit the exhale, pure, strong, right from the center as you exhale out in your cat round. 2 to 3 more rounds. Let it come from your breath. One more time, energize with your inhale. Keep inhaling with the lift of your sternum bone and heart. Keep inhaling, and on your exhale, round it out, clean it out as you open up your back body. Take 2 breaths here. Just letting your head and neck hang. Begin to stack up vertebra at a time, stacking one on top of the next, on top of the next. And to come out of the bound angle, use your hands to help close in the ends of your legs like a book. And feel welcome here to windshield wiper your legs back and forth or shake them out. Sometimes after a long hip opener, some kind of funky tension can build up as the body tries to balance itself. Neutralize that tension however you need to get back to your baseline. And then flip around and come over to 4s, starting with some cow cats. You can take these standard cow cats or begin to work more dimensional cow cats to the side. Sometimes it just depends on where your tension's at today. A little bit of following where the tension is hiding out. As you explore the dimension of the cow cat a little bit, feel welcome to go to the side or to roll. If you're not in a spontaneous mood, you can just find a tension spot and hold it. though you can also work with a more spontaneous cow-cat. Taking 2 more cycles to continue to unwind tension. Particularly if there's a tense place that you'd like a little bit more time to work out, feel welcome to continue here. When you're ready, come to downward facing dog pose, where you can continue the release of tensions by rolling through your feet and working into your hips. Or perhaps you want to contrast all the movement you've been doing with a moment of strength and steadiness and stillness. For 3 breaths, work with your choice of downward dog, either cultivating the steady stillness of your downward dog or rolling through your feet back and forth, working out any little tensions that might be hiding out in your hips today. And then letting both legs anchor to the floor. Use your next inhale to float your right leg up in the air behind you. On your exhale, step your right foot forward between your hands. We're going to come into a low lunge with your left knee down on the mat. Letting your lungs empty first. On your next inhale, begin to float up on your breath. Using your exhale to float your way back down to the floor. Establish your breath as the prime mover on your next inhale, as if your breath is filling up a pool that you're doing a lunge at the bottom of. And your exhale empties that pool. Let your breath come first. Your breath, and then the pool fills and you float up on the rising tide, down on the falling tide. Once both hands land down to the floor, step your left foot forward up to the top of your mat. Coming to a forward bend position, just starting to ease into the backs of your legs a little bit here. Use your next breath to step your right foot back, coming into a low lunge with your right knee down on the floor. Letting your lungs empty first, breath, and then rising tide. Let your body float up on the rising tide. Your exhale, the falling tide, body floats down on the falling tide. Take 2 more rounds, letting your breath lead the tide, your tide float your body. Your nervous system will tell you when you're attuned. Now, the next time that you land both hands down to the floor, step your way forward to the top of your mat, revisiting the backs of your legs, easing in, starting to unwind tension that's hiding out in your hamstrings. And with a gentle bend of your knees and hips, use your next inhale to rise up to standing, being taken by the rising tide of your breath. On your exhale, let both arms float down, heart center or arms at your side, samasthiti. Coming to pause, feeling your breath with the intention to let your breath take you on the movement today. The next time your lungs empty, use your inhale, the rising tide, to let both arms float up to the skies. We begin some sun salutations. On your exhale, let your whole body float down on the falling tide as you come into your forward bend. On your next inhale, step back with your left foot, left knee down, coming into a low lunge. On your next inhale, let the rising tide float you up. And as you reach the top, reach from your center up through your torso. Keep inhaling, and then use your torso, your core together with your exhale to come down. Next inhale, float your way up on a full breath. Keep inhaling, keep growing out of your center. Then a committed exhale, it can be just an easy a little sigh or cleansing breath. Pick which you like for your last one of these, using your inhale to let yourself float. And when you land both hands to the floor, step your right foot back, coming into a plank position. If you lower to chaturanga, go there. Otherwise, lower your knees before coming down to your belly. And come into your choice of back bend for 3 breaths. If you're wanting to ease into your back bends, you might stay with something like Sphinx. Or if you want something a little stronger, a cobra. Use your breath into the space of your chest. Fill up the space of your rib cage on your inhale. And on your exhale, make your way back into downward facing dog. Letting your breath lead the way. Rising and falling tide. The next time your lungs empty, let a rising tide float your left leg up in the air behind you. And stay with that same float feeling timing as you step your left foot forward between your hands. Taking the low lunge on the other side, your right knee down to the floor. Use your next inhale, the rising tide, to float your way up. As the tide takes you, keep inhaling, keep growing out of your center at the top, and then from your center, commit your exhale out down toward the floor. And 2 more times, led by your breath. You can make this more of a soothing kind of feel, making it more of a sigh down. Or perhaps you want to cleanse and clean out some negative stress energy out today, in which case keep inhaling at the top, keep growing out of your center, and then you make it a quick down toward the floor. Now, once you have it, place both hands down, step forward to the top of your mat on an inhale. On your exhale, ease in through the backs of your legs. We're going to hold here for a moment. Sit bones to the sky pose. Feel welcome to rock your weight a little bit more forward so that you can push downward through your heels as you lift your sit bones up to the sky. So there's an expansion through the backs of your legs, which roots you as much as it opens up your sit bones toward the sky above you. Take 2 more breaths here in the forward bend, as if you have those deep lungs, those lungs that go toward your seat. Your breath may not go all the way to your seat. It's a yoga practice, not a yoga perfect. And so we don't stress the small stuff. On your next exhale, release and use your inhale to rise and float up on the rising tide of your breath. Letting your arms float down. Samasthiti, whether you prefer heart center or arms at your side, is up to you. Take a pause with the length of the silk thread through your spine. The rest of your body practicing that you let go. Let go of any gripping of your quadriceps against your thigh bones. Let go of any gripping of your glute muscles on the glute bones. To be in yoga is to inhabit 2 worlds, both the world of lengthening your spine, tall and spacious, but also released. feeling your breath. The next time that your lungs empty, on your next inhale, let both arms float up into the air. Using your exhale to take the journey down into your forward bend. On your next inhale, step back with your right foot, coming into a fingertip lunge. Now, you've done this lots of times. You have a sense of where the wobble is in your lunge. Pick the steady moment to rise your way up to crescent lunge. Breathing in crescent lunge, start with a full inhale. Keep inhaling, and on your exhale, turn open strong to your right warrior two. As soon as you inhabit the two worlds, which is what yoga really is learning to inhabit two opposites to bring them together. Hatha yoga is often called the slayer of opposites. So you inhabit the two worlds, your groundedness of your warrior lower body with the dignity on top. Use your inhale to grow long through your left side body, coming into goddess pose. And as you open up the little spaces alongside your left side body, right? Notice the tissue. We all have habits of ways that we bend. And so you will notice that some tissue doesn't quite open as much as others. Some of it might even over open a little bit. And so as you give the gift to every single little pinpoint, every cell along your left side body of space, take 3 breaths into that space that you've made. As each breath soaks the cells, soaks the space, take one more inhale. And on your exhale, windmill down to the floor, framing up to your left foot. Step your way back into plank, filling up your lungs all the way. Use your exhale to lower to chaturanga or knees down if you go below elbow level of chaturanga. On your inhale, 3 breaths. Choice of back bend, either Sphinx, Cobra. You may be feeling the strength for an upward dog. Fill up the full space of your lungs on your inhale and use your exhale to move back to downward dog, moving along with your breath, taking you through the sun salutation. The next time that your lungs empty, use your inhale, the rising tide, to float your right leg up in the air behind you. And stay with the tide of your breath as you float your foot forward. There's no problem if you're a little off my pace. All right, it's a yoga practice, not a yoga perfect. The terrible thing about being perfect is that everything is known. There is no space for the wobble. There is no space for the organic pulsations of life. What is a wobble but a pulsation? Find the steady moment of the pulsation to rise up into crescent lunge. And so in yoga, it is not a yoga perfect. We don't try to form fit the pulsations to some idea of our ego, but rather we ride the pulsations of life. So feel your breath and fill up your lungs on your next inhale a little further. Use your exhale to turn open strong to your left into warrior two. And so as you activate your warrior, your legs rooting your upper body with dignity. You are inhabiting these two worlds. So in yoga, we are the inhabitor of two worlds, and this is said to be how we become the slayer of opposites, and thus not bound to making any one side more important This is surfing the pulsations of life. On your next inhale, open up your right side body, coming into goddess pose. And so as you make the space alongside your right side body, as you begin to play with putting the space into some of the areas that may not habitually be so prevalent, give the space that you do make the gift of your breath, like each wave. Send your breath into the space. In yoga, we play with the fact we do have control, but we do not over control. This is how we surf pulsations of life. Take one more inhale into your right side body. And with your exhale, windmill down to the floor, framing up to your front foot. Step your left foot forward up to the top of your mat on a full breath. On your next exhale, open up your sit bones to the sky. Once again, we're going to pause here in the forward bend for 3 breaths. It's harder to feel the spaciousness in the legs than it is in the torso, but play with it anyway. Play with rocking your weight just a tiny bit forward toward the balls of your feet so that you can root down through your heels as you open your sit bones to the sky. You might discover the capacity to bring this sense of expansion, just like you do in Goddess. Now, if not, it's not a yoga perfect. Part of our practice is aligning with intention, with interest in results. But we are not defined as a success or failure on result, only feedback to refine our intention. Taking one more breath. On your exhale, letting the pose release. Use your inhale, rising tide, to float your way up to standing. And then letting both arms float down, either relaxed at your side or at a pause at heart center, or whatever lands more fully for you in Samasthiti. Inhabit the 2 worlds, the long, spacious midline of your spine world, with the release and soften and let go of everything else world. As you soften your thigh and glute muscles off the bone, cascade through your body of release. Stay spacious. Or it is these moments of inhabiting the 2 worlds that the pulsations of life are most clear. Feeling your breath in and out. Begin to gently deepen your breath. Letting your breath flow like a tide up and down. The next time that your lungs empty, on your inhale, let both arms be floated up by the rising tide. So we come into one more round of the sun salutes. On your exhale, let the falling tide take you down toward the floor. Using your next inhale, step back with your left foot to fingertip lunge. You choose that steady moment in the wobble, the steady moment in life pulsing to rise up to crescent lunge. participate with your breath. On your next inhale, fill up your lungs a little fuller, a little bigger, and on your exhale, turn open to your left to warrior two. And continue to inhabit the two worlds as you straighten your right leg and tilt your way into Trikonasana, triangle pose. This is one of my favorite poses. It is in part because I find it so difficult to inhabit my legs in this pose, right? It's so much easier when the knee is bent in warrior. And so this provides an opportunity to dig, to connect to internal groundedness, right? If you spread your toes and hug the leg muscles to the bone, it gets harder, but easier to find grounding in a position like this where the grounding is not quite such a given. And then you can use that grounding to lift your lower rib cage out of your waist, to grow your spine so that you have space in it as you turn your sternum bone to the sky. Now, if you have a little funkiness in your neck, right, you can look to the ground, never let your neck take you out of the pose. You can even take the twist out of the pose. Sometimes that is helpful if your neck is acting up a little bit. But 2 more breaths here in triangle, right? Especially if your neck is not acting up. Play with the groundedness as you inhabit the length of your spine. The two worlds come together, right? That's the brightness, the bright ground. One more inhale. And on your exhale, bend into your right knee. Place your hands, frame up, and step your way back into plank. Now we're going to hold plank here for 20 seconds. Now, if it is a little funky on your wrists in this plank, or you just prefer something with a little more heat, you can drop your elbows down below your shoulders to come into a forearm plank. And of course, you can steady yourself into any variation that is challenging without being overly challenging by going to your knees. Take one more breath here in your plank pose. And we'll join together in child's pose in 8 breaths. If you want to take a flow to get there, feel welcome to take a flow. If holding the long plank makes things a little funky in your back, feel welcome to take a moment to swish your legs to work out any tensions. And when you land in child's pose, take 5 breaths into your back. It is enough to just breathe deep and notice your back. There's no need to force breath in your back. You're not a better or worse yogi. In large part, the externalness of our pose is simply a condition of where our body is at today. It's not a lot we can do about it today. It is everything in yoga to have the intention. Breathe into your back and be very keen to noticing how that intention lands. Taking one more breath into your back body. On your next inhale, bring yourself up to 4s and then back to downward facing dog. And we're going to do the second side, which, if my memory is correct, I believe is the left leg. And so if that's the case, you're going to inhale and float your left leg up in the air and then bring your left foot forward. Coming into your fingertip lunge. And so you attune to the pulsations of life. We wobble because we got blood moving through us. We got all kinds of life stuff flowing through us. That's why we wobble. Embrace the life, embrace the wobble. But participate in it. Find the steady moment to rise up. Find the steady moment to participate with your breath. And with your next inhale, keep inhaling. And on your exhale, turn open to your right to warrior two. And since I see no one switching sides, I'm assuming this is indeed the second side. Straighten your left leg. We'll tilt into Trikonasana, triangle pose. The invitation to energize. Spread your toes, engage your leg muscles to the bone so that you can anchor your legs. You can begin to move your pelvis a little bit back and then back toward the back wall ceiling so that the stretch gets into your legs. And this serves as a solid base from which you can grow out of as you continue to inhabit both the grounded world of your legs and the growing spine, like a plant, like a stem growing out of its earth, making space through each vertebra. As you anchor both worlds and turn your sternum bone to the sky, just check in with each moment. Can you use a little bit more grounding in this moment or a little more space in this moment? It is through our oscillations that we find the bridge in both worlds. Taking 3 more breaths in triangle pose. And now with your next inhale, breathing in, use your exhale to turn to the floor, frame up to your left foot. Step forward to the top of your mat on a full breath. Exhale and sit bones to the sky. And now with your next inhale, float your way on up to standing and return to your choice of samasthiti. To pause, spine tall, relaxed, thigh and glute muscles off the thigh and glute bones. Return to where you can become sensitive to the whole pulsation of life flowing through you. Feeling your breath pulse. Begin to ever so gently deepen your breath. And as the next time your breath goes out, use your next inhale to float both arms up in the air. Your exhale to float down and toward your forward bend. Step back with your right leg, landing your right knee down to the floor, some padding on the mat. We're going to return back to the low lunge. Use your inhale to float and rise up. And then exhale to cactus arms. We're going to steady here for a moment to open up the quadriceps. So if you're not getting quite the quadricep stretch you would like, reach back and grab a hold of your right foot, pulling it forward toward your right hip. It's often helpful to place your weight above your kneecap at the bottom of your thigh rather than at the point of your knee in order to take pressure off the joint. 3 more breaths. You can furthermore get deeper into the muscle by isometrically pulling your right knee forward. So we notice the muscle also has depth. Take a breath in, and on your exhale, release both hands down to the floor. Switch sides through downward dog, child's pose, or through a flow. Right leg forward, left knee down in the low lunge. So we did lots of vigorous moving around specifically for these kinds of moments. I'm getting to open up the hips, which are these surrounding muscles around the four edges around the hip joint. And so we've got this big quadricep muscle in the front. Now, one way to open it is to lengthen it. So that you do that by reaching back and grabbing your foot if you're not getting quite the length you want. However, muscles are not two-dimensional objects. They exist in three-dimensional space. By isometrically pulling your left knee forward, you get the depth of the muscle. Can you feel that? Take another breath here. And on your exhale, bring both hands down to the floor. We'll come to a kneeling position. You feel welcome to do that through a downward dog, child's pose, or take a flow. And we will set up today for a single back bend, bringing yourself up to camel. And if you want to do wheel, by all means, this is a very experienced group. So feel welcome to do wheel if you're more of a wheel person here. But you can set up camel with toes tucked under if you like, or with the feet flat, whichever you like. Come into your cactus or your dropped cactus. And as you draw your shoulders back and lift up your heart, breathing into the space between your chests. This is the accumulation of everything from the day. You are making space and breathing into the space you're making. You're inhabiting the two worlds, the roll of your shoulders back, the lift of your throat and your sternum bone up as you engage your abdominals, your tailbone down to anchor and ground as much as you have opening to the sky. Now, 3 more breaths. This is the place to take it deeper if that's a place you've been holding off to go. You also do not have to. There is no perfection. Perfection is death. Play with the oscillations of life. Take a giant breath into your chest. Keep inhaling. And on your exhale, bring your inner thighs back to come up if you're in camel, gently back to child's pose, unless you prefer a seat. Wheel, of course, tuck in your chin. Release your wrists. Make any movements necessary to release, but then come quickly to a pause. So that you can let the pulsations of life react. Give them space to play. Now feel welcome to take a few more breaths in stillness here. Though if you've got some funkiness in your back, feel welcome to take a few cat rolls or a leg cross. The advanced pose is always the one that fits your body in the moment. In your next 1 to 4 breaths, begin to find your way to downward dog. We're going to play this downward dog as a very active pose. So with bent knees, inner thighs, outer hips being pulled toward the back wall ceiling. As you grow your lower rib cage toward your inner hands, you begin to make a traction or space through your spine. And then spread that spaciousness through your whole torso. This is the lighting up of your whole torso. Take 3 more breaths. And then led by your breath. On your next inhale, let your left leg be floated up in the air behind you. And then step your left foot up to your right hand to pigeon pose, unless you're taking an alternative here. Wanting to open up the back of your hip. Please feel welcome to use chat or yell out if you would like any guidance as far as alternate poses go. Once you feel like you have a stretch in the back of your hip, you can begin to relax forward in pigeon pose. And breathe without forcing. Into the lowest part of your lungs. As if the very bottom of your lungs were in your abdominal cavity or down in the bowl of your pelvis. Four more breaths. Now feel welcome, especially if the long hip opener, and long hip openers can do this, where if you feel some imbalance or weird tension in between, take a little time to come out, do a few hip circles, or to windshield wiper your legs back and forth, or shake. We all have different ways in which neutralizing our body is most effective. Some people like motion, some people like to shake, some people like to do like large circles. It just depends on the body. And as you're ready, switch to your second side, pigeon pose, or alternative to pigeon on the right. And again, feel welcome to, if you have any trouble anytime, any pose, but this is actually an easy one, to hit me up in chat or online. There's a reason we got the advantage here of being live. And once you have the stretch you'd like in the back of your seat, go ahead and take a bow forward. And breathe like your lungs go to your seat and the bottom of your lungs are the most hungry. And like it doesn't matter. Because life is not perfection. It is the oscillating play. Sometimes we wobble, sometimes we're steady. Four more breaths. If it's a perfect low breath, great. If it isn't, great, because the perfect often strains us. Feel welcome to take a little time to re-neutralize your hip. Some of you may be lucky enough to not need that. You can just stay in the pose a little while longer if you like. You can neutralize your hip with some hip circles or shaking out your hip or a little windshield wiper action. Into a back release here, and this will be a little different for everybody. You may wish to roll some cats back and forth if you like some more dynamic motion here. You might come to a rabbit pose or a tripod cat, rounding your back and doing something more static. For some of you, you like plow. You can roll back into plow. However, if you do go to plow, be sure to keep it out of your neck. And some body types can't keep it out of their neck. So just be mindful of that in plow. 6 breaths, rabbit plow, or the rabbit variation tripod cat. Three more breaths. And then with your next inhale, begin to gently roll your way up to a seat, whether kneeling seat or cross-legged seat is up to you. Occupying the two worlds as you sit tall through your silk thread midline. Yet relaxed all the way through the rest of your body. In the in-between space where the pulsations of life are most clear, use your breath to guide you. The next time your exhale empties out, use your inhale to float both arms up and your exhale to turn to your left into a twist. One more breath. Lead from the one before. On your exhale, use your next inhale to float, to unwind the pose. And on your exhale, turn to your right into a twist. As you work your twist to release any last little tensions in your spine, use your next inhale to unwind, to return back to center, to your seat. And you can begin to make your way to your final relaxation, Shavasana, or if you prefer to do meditation, you can stay in seated. If there's any last adjustments as well, whether it's working out tensions or setting up props, do that here. Continuing to rest in stillness. If your body would enjoy a few more moments in Shavasana, feel welcome to stay here. This is your space. So there's no other class coming in. Feel welcome to take your time. In honor of the time container we've set today, I'll begin to bring us to close. You do not need to join the close. But if you would like to, you can begin to gently roll to your side and softly work your way up to a closing seat. Thank you for practicing today.